poppin' in ice cubes? My name is Matty Ice Cube, and I needed to make this vlog a little while ago, but I'm here now, trying to get some things together. Um, so I have some good news and some bad news. The bad news is I am almost completely out of fresh uh material for you guys to watch. Like I've pretty much run out of games at this point. Cuz my computer is so limited to what it can do right now. I need a new one really really badly. And the good news is my unemployment finally went through. So here in the next month or so, I should have the means to get a new one, and then I'll have a brand new setup to show off and everything. So hopefully that happens soon. And by soon, I mean in the next month or so, because once I get my new PC, I have a whole gaggle of games to sit down and play, because they're all high-end, high-tier games that I want to sit down and play, because I can't finish Alien Isolation because my frame rate is affecting my recordings with all of my softwares. Like I've tried OBS, I've tried to fix my Bandicam. It refuses to work. And I've come to terms that it's just that my computer refuses to stay at a consistent frame rate, and my recording suffers because of it. Like there's a time lag between my webcam or my audio and my game, and frankly it really pisses me off when that happens. I could go back to using no webcam, because it may just be my webcam. I don't know anything at this point. Not using my webcam would, I don't know, that would be up to you guys, because I have no problems doing that, but frankly it kind of takes away from it takes away me. Like, I'm still there, but like you can't see my reactions to the tense and terrifying moments of Alien Isolation, because I can run the game. Like, I get a good 45 plus FPS, and it's a AAA horror game that's not very old, and frankly it was updated almost, I don't know, a week and a half ago with new DLC that I was hoping to do. And I was really excited to play more, but it just would refuse to work for me. And OBS would just lag and lag and lag. And it was just awful. The recording quality was awful. Because OBS recording, if you didn't know, is locked in at 60 FPS. And the minute you go under 50, lag. It's just non-stop lag. So, for those of you who don't know that, like, under 50 frames in that 60 ratio, you start experience recording lag. And recording lag is not good for anyone, because it reduces your video quality. It reduces, like, it creates the syncing issue that I've been having. And frankly, I've given up. Like, it's beyond fixing at this point without getting brand new hardware, because I don't know, I don't really have an excuse. My other solution, my other short-term solution, would be to order a new graphics card to put into this computer. I could do that. But that would also facilitate getting a new monitor, because this monitor has an old cable. It's not HDMI. This is an old monitor. And I want to keep this monitor because it'll be my editing monitor. Because this monitor is like, God, it's almost 10 plus years old now. And it's still going strong. It's still a good monitor. But I don't know. I've completely diverted from from the original purpose of this video, which is just to get my thoughts out. And this past couple weeks, this past almost month has been a blast. Even though there's not been that many videos over the past month, I've just been having a blast every single day because of all the love and support that you guys have been giving me. And with all the writing I've been getting done and all the other stuff that I've been working on, it's frankly, it's been a blast. It's been a fantastic time. And it's just, I've just been in a non-stop, really fantastic mood this past month. And it just feels like there's nothing to ruin it. Like, there's been some drama here and there with Mania and whatnot, but frankly, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, they can say whatever they want. They can try and come and bring me down and try and ruin my fun time, but it's not going to work. My positive attitude is stronger than any of their negativity. 'Cause they're just not worth it, honestly, anymore. 'Cause looking back, I brought myself down so low to appease Mania and the others. Like, I brought myself to extreme lows just to stay in that circle, and it just wasn't good. It was a very toxic environment, and I did not need to be there. But I stayed, not for them, but for other reasons. Because stories needed to be told, and they needed to be told correctly. But in the end, they weren't. And I don't know. I mean, it's whatever. Because honestly, if people want to eat up a shitty story that looks nice with some fancy editing and some nice music, whatever you're into, honestly. But I don't know. When it comes to stories, I prefer completion and the actual journey and building of it itself over looking good, honestly. Because if you're not willing to put in the work to finish what you started, then why'd you start it all? And I don't know. And that's kind of how I feel about my writing projects, because my writing projects are more geared towards that. And it doesn't really matter if Mania ever finds out or not, because frankly, she can't stop me. She's rebooted her series, so that original version is completely abandoned, and I can do whatever the fuck I want with it. Am I gonna go out of my way and make a mass production out of the bits of story that I've written for it? No. There's not enough time in the day, because the quality standards I would have for it would be so ungodly high, because I would want it to be done well and done right. And for that to happen, it would have to revamp the end of season 3 and have it completely finished. But we're past that stage. I don't know, because for a good conclusive story, there's a lot of requirements for it. It, like, aside from it having a beginning, middle, and end, that's basic. But what's even more basic is it has to, not only are you supposed to build the world that it's in, and all good stories have good world building, and if you can't manage to do that and get that across in the story, then you're not going to get anywhere. People are going to lose interest. And in terms of my writings, I'm taking the world building to a brand new height, because because my writing style has improved immensely since the writing of season 3. And frankly, it's going really, really well from all the feedback and the people who have looked at it and are talking with me about it. From what I've written, people are enjoying it, and it's really good. Because I'm not the best writer, and I don't always have a place to judge, but I do have a place to state opinions and state facts. And I'm a very firm believer in, yes, everybody's opinion does matter. Does it always need to be stated? No. Do quick jumping to conclusion opinions need to be stated? Absolutely not. Your opinions need to be backed up with facts. Like, you actually have to have read the story all the way through. You actually have to understand where the writer is coming from. You have to put yourself in those positions and really feel those characters. And if you can't do that, then, well, there's other ways of doing that if you can't do that. And people are good writers in different ways. Writing is in the eye of the beholder. But at the same time, if you can't take feedback and improve yourself every time, then all you're going to do is make the same level of story, but it's going to decrease in quality. Because constructive criticism is important for anything, really. Whether it's work or a trade or writing or making videos or me being an idiot. Like, constructive criticism is important. I cannot sit here and say that I have not learned anything from making all the videos that I've made, from being here for the past 3.5 years, and sitting where I'm sitting now after all of the things that have happened and all of the different people that I've interacted with and all of the drama and all of the garbage that I've been put through. I cannot sit here and say that I have not learned anything. Does it make me trust people less after what happened? Little bit. Yeah, a little bit. There are a couple extra hurdles people have to jump through before being my friend nowadays, which is to prove they're not a total shithead and they're just hiding it, or they're self-centered and only ever want it to be about them, or only care about one other person's opinion and nobody else's. Like, I don't want to talk to toxic single-minded people. I want to talk to multidimensional actual people, because people are not in a singular dimension. They are multi-layered. And I enjoy getting to meet new people and talking with them and listening to their views and their experiences. Granted, there's always that chance that all they're going to do is spew negativity at you, but that is an opportunity to learn to ignore that shit, because staying in a positive frame of mind, like, and I'm not talking the glass is half full or the glass is half empty point of view. I'm talking, if you have confidence in yourself and your own abilities, there should be nothing that anyone ever says that will bring you down. And frankly, anyone who has the confidence to make anything, you're already better than any of the naysayers. You're already better than all of the people who refuse to learn from their mistakes and make themselves better people. And I don't need numbers to back up myself. Like, I have confidence in myself. And that's something that nobody over there on Mania's side can ever take away from me. I have self-confidence. I have the positive mental attitude to get through practically any situation. So, and I'm sure there are people who are going to shit talk me in the comments or message me on Discord and tell me I'm wrong and that I was the toxic douchebag. And frankly, 90% of you will have no idea what I have gone through being in that group. And this is not being, I'm not calling like that whole group out. I'm calling out the people who run that group, that cell of content creators. And the self-centered, narcissistic views on how they do things and how they write and how they do that, it just rubs me the wrong way. And frankly, that's fine. Like, they don't have to care. But the fact that they do just goes to show how much validation they need in anything they do. And frankly, that's not good. Like, I don't need numbers or views or subscribers to validate what I'm doing. I am doing it because I thoroughly enjoy what I'm doing. I do Let's Plays not because they're a new thing, not because it'll help me get famous. I am doing Let's Plays because I love it. I love doing Let's Plays. I love sitting and just playing games and reacting to them and getting your guys' feedback. Like, that's what the whole thing here is about for my channel. It's very cut and dry and to the point. Eventually, yeah, I want to get into bigger and better things, but I can't do that yet. Because I have a very... Because I feel like I've just been showing the negative qualities of other people. So I'll give you a negative quality of myself. I have a really big problem of letting people help me. Because that's my self-confidence and my positive mental attitude can get in the way sometimes of making good content and not allowing anyone to help me out. Like, I would have loved to have a thumbnail editor a while back, but I have not taken the time to sit down and learn and buy a subscription for a good photo editor, because photo editors are not free. And most of them are really complicated or are really aren't intuitive to use. Like, to learn the editing techniques that I have now is very basic, and I like it. I like that editing style for me because it focuses more on the video and less on the editing, because to me the editing is not the important part of the video. It's the actual content in the video. Because I always preface the game stuff over my stuff, and then I put my stuff over editing. So I don't like to cut stuff out. I don't like to saturate. So when I make videos, I record them completely raw. And if there are parts where nothing is really happening, or I'm just doing a whole section over again, I'll cut that out completely, like, instantly. There are times in the past where I haven't, and that's just me being a lazy shithead. But I feel like that raw gameplay aspect is very important, and that has been lost, because frankly, people have become a lot more impatient nowadays in terms of video content. They want things to happen immediately. They want that instant gratification, and that's not good. Instant gratification is never good in any situation ever, because that makes you complacent and makes you not want to do anything more. Working towards your goals is always a very important aspect of anybody's character. Going back to how Mania and Ish and them do all their stuff, it's all based on instant gratification. They can't say they cannot sit there and deny it, because they have a large following at this point, and literally it doesn't take much for horde mentality to form in a large group like that. And horde mentality is never a good thing, because that means no one is being completely honest. Everyone is just following what everyone else says. And so if one person says, aka someone higher up in the development team, Mania, Ish, someone else, says that something is great, everybody will believe it. It's called horde mentality. They'll just take their word for it. And honestly, it's all instant gratification. Like, they're so far up their own asses that they feel like they don't need to do anything more than what they're doing already to not only get Mania what she's already gotten, but it just causes her quality, the quality of her content and the quality of her stories, to suffer for it. Now that I'm trying to get my words out. Now, on the flip side of that, do I think Mania does not deserve any of the things that she has? Absolutely not. That is not what I'm saying. I am saying, however, that the way she is doing things now is not going to work out forever. It is... People are going to wise up eventually, and people are going to look in between the lines and see what myself and a whole bunch of other people have seen. And pointing out flaws in yourself is a very important trait, because that means you are identifying what you need to work on and fixing those things. Granted, am I perfect? No. Do I have the position to sit here and point out everyone else's flaws? No. All I am claiming is to have the insight onto how these people work and do their everyday things. Cause frankly, that whole cell used to be a very positive and very improving environment. Because in the time of when Season 2 was in development, that was a big step for all of us. That was our first steps into what we became later on. It wasn't until the immense task of finishing Season 3 came around that Mania's true colors decided to show through on how much little effort she wanted to truly put into her story making, because of her time limits, or how much time she wanted to make other content. And my response to that every single time is, nothing worth doing is easy. So if you're not going to put the time in to make something good, then why would you waste your time making content that later down the line people are going to call out and say isn't as good as other stuff, or couldn't have been as good as it could have been if you had put the time in? And unfortunately, Mystic Hills has fallen into that category, not just because of the finale, but also now because of the reboot. And this is where my insight truly lies. And this was probably a mistake on someone else's part, but I was scrolling through my Google Docs. I've had access to the script for the reboot. I've read what was written. I'm going to withhold my opinions, because frankly, that's for you guys to find out and for me to know. And I expect that document to be locked out of my viewing. And frankly, I don't want to read how it ends, because it's nowhere near as good as the full potential of what Season 3 could have been. Because see, that the reboot has the same problem as any of Mania's series, is in the end she tries to make it all about her. And for a story to work, yes, there are stories where there is a singular main character, but in all of those stories, there is always a vast variety of colorful side characters. If you cannot give up the spotlight long enough to build the world that you're in, while also giving your characters some breathing room to expand and be better people, your series is just going to bomb. Your writing is going to bomb. It's not going to work out, and that's all I have to say about that. Now, the biggest issue, the biggest issue with writing that is self-centered like that is only self-centered around a singular character, it means it has a limited view. It means that there are things that the viewer is not aware of, and there are other things happening elsewhere that potentially could make the story better and give more growth to the characters. But if it is completely sidelined just because the main character is not there, then you have a problem, because you're only making it about that character. and that's narcissistic, and means that you only ever want your character to ever have the spotlight. If you're not allowing all of your characters to get the breathing room they deserve, and trust me, I'm getting there. Season 3 has some of those problems. Season 2 and 3 have some of those problems. But if you're not allowing the freedom to explore all of these other aspects of your story, it's just going to generate more questions and more confusion, and then there are going to be scenarios where things lose all meaning because there's no tension, there's no clear threat, or there's no clear build up. Ugh. I'm full of something today. Ugh. There's no clear build up, there's no clear mystery, or there's no clear tension, because for any story there is always a conflict, whether it's between this person and another person, or this group of people and another group of people. There is always a conflict somewhere, and in a proper conflict there is build-up, there is tension, and there is substance. If your conflict does not have all three of those things, everything that is there is just going to fall through, because there's no, like, if there's no substance to your build up and your tension, it's going to fall through because it means nothing. Like, and when I mean by substance, I mean story relevance. It actually has to mean something for the story. And that is inevitably what writing the story is. If you are not writing for the good of the story and only for a particular character, that's not storytelling. That's not fiction. Fiction is not relegated to just telling one side of the story. If you're only ever going to explore the one side of the story, stick to fan fiction. But if you're going to actually expand and explore different angles of the story, then you're going to be able to make your story feel much, much more complete and more diverse. Because there's loads of different stories that I could give examples from. There's the whole Silmarillion series, the Silmarillion, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. It has such a wide, diverse area of characters, and it's not ever truly relegated to just one character, and it has so many different side characters, and it has a properly built world. There's also the Inheritance series. It started out only focusing on the main character, Aragon, and his dragon Saphira. It expanded into a much larger world where it didn't encompass just them. There were other characters who got the limelight, other characters who were able to navigate certain crises that could have ended them all. There are so many times in different stories, like if you look at a story and you look at a conflict, and you can find different points where if something went wrong, they could all die, or the outcome could have been very negative for the main cast. that's good storytelling, because that just shows how big the threat was, or how important the conflict was to the story. Um, and hold on, I'll get there. I'll get back to Mystic Hills here in a second. But if you're not willing, basically the TLDR of this is, if you're not willing to explore every character, frankly, is there always time? No. I'll get into a couple examples of that later, here in a few seconds. If you are not willing to explore your different characters and give them the proper growth that they deserve, then there's just going to be a lackluster substance. There's going to be a lack of substance and a lack of urgency in the conflicts, because there's going to be a lot of times where if a properly built, if there's going to be a singular, properly defined character surrounded by side characters that people know next to nothing about. They know their relationships with each other, but if there's nothing connecting them all together, and you can feel their friendship, or you can feel their bond together, and one of them dies, you're just going to be like, well, who the hell was he anyway? Who was he to the story? And frankly, that's why killing off characters is one of the hardest thing to do in any story. You can't just kill them off for no reason. There has to be a reason. There has to be character depth. There has to be a conflict that they're trying to fix. And then there's going to be their sacrifice, or their death, or their lack of sacrifice. Like, there's always something, because when killing off a character, it could be a betrayal, a self-sacrifice, it could just be an accident, it could be a whole number of things. There are 1.5 million different ways to kill off a character, but none of them are easy and none of them are simple, because they each have their own requirements to follow through and actually impact the story. Because if you're relegating your story view only to one person and their view of the world that you have built, that's all your viewer or your reader is ever going to see. If you're not going to take the time to expand and actually give the viewer something to work with, then all you're doing is wasting your viewer or your reader's time. And that's the end goal of any writer, of any content creator, is we're making it for the viewer, the reader, the watcher, or whatever. We're doing it for them. We're not doing it for us. We're doing it for them. And that's where Mania's content suffers the most, is she's making it for herself. And labeling it that she's made it for them, that she's making it for her followers. There's none of that. I've been behind the scenes, and anytime it's about any other character outside of a 3-group cell, there's conflict and there's problems and there's toxicity about which direction the story should go. And when you have 2 people with their heads shoved so far up their ass making content and trying to get other people to help make content, it doesn't end well, because there's always a conflict of interest. Whereas they're writing the stories for their own individual characters, I prefer world building and character depth over an actual substance over my own character. And I don't know, I feel like Adrian pre-Mystic King is the perfect example of that. And now we're going to get into Mystic Hills. We're going to loop back into Mystic Hills. Adrian as a character was... Basically, he expanded the worldview of Mania. He came in, and there was this whole new world of opportunities to be opened, whereas there were a bunch of dangerous mystics that were around, and if they weren't careful, they were going to get caught in the crossfire of something that they were trying to do that didn't even involve Mania at all. Until she got into relationships with Leon and Adrian collectively. Not separately, but collectively. Because Leon was always the love interest, and Adrian was always the half of the Mystic King. He had full knowledge of this. He had full knowledge of Leon being the ancestor of his other half, basically. And there is a lot of things that were not explored about Adrian's self-sacrifice to hold at bay all of these bigger, even more dangerous threats that Mania never even had to face or was even aware of, to keep them away. All of the manipulating he had to do, all of the lies he had to tell, it gave him proper depth. And because if you peel back the layers, Adrian is this very knowledgeable being who knows, I wouldn't want to say everything, because there's obviously a bunch of stuff he doesn't know about. Like, his people skills are not the best. I could guarantee you that. After playing the character and helping write the character for so long, and currently still writing the character, he's not very good with people. He knows his way around people to get out of those types of situations, but he doesn't know people very well. Granted, this changes over the course of the story, but his people skills are not the best. He could give a full course lecture on the use of magic or the history of Mystera, or the hundreds of different types of mystics that exist in Mystera, but his actual relationships with people are very difficult for him. Like, he doesn't like attaching to people. Mania and her group was the first actual real group of people, and they were mostly humans, or half human. And in the beginning, he hated humans. He despised them with a passion. It just goes to show that character development goes a long way. People can change. Characters can evolve over time. And there's also other examples, like Leon became more than the one-dimensional protagonist love interest. And people actually felt the impact of his death, because regardless of what they're going to say, we did kill off Leon and Adrian in that moment up until the very end of the series. Which goes to show that just because you kill off a character doesn't mean that character can't come back. Whether it's in a flashback or a revival, but it has to make sense. Is my thing. It has to make sense. And looking back, there is still a lot of refinement that could have gone into writing season 3. Like, there is a lot more that we could have done, but she would not open up to the idea of expanding more or limiting me to a certain number of episodes and continually having to push ideas just to get something, just to get some character development for any of the characters was a struggle, because she wanted to have a limited runtime. because she didn't want to quote unquote waste her time making these episodes. And from a different point of view, yes, you could say that's understandable because she has other series. But if you're not going to put the proper love and dedication into the series that you started with, why would you bother making any other series that you're going to put the exact same effort into? And that was my biggest beef, was she started her career, whether she likes it or not, started with Mystic Hills. Started with these characters. It was her beginning, and frankly, I'm actually scared for her that it's going to be her end. Like, she's going to bomb with Mystic Hills because of her changes to the already incredible story that she had. Granted, there are probably other aspects as to why she rebooted this story. Probably more personal reasons, and not all of them having to do with me. And frankly, if they're about me, I don't care. I probably already know. I'm not the easiest person to work with, but I'm a very understanding and caring individual. I won't just leave you high and dry. Like, if you're stuck on something, usually I'll go out of my way to help you. Unless I have another problem on my end, I will drop everything to come and help you. I am very recklessly selfless. Like, I've given up my financial well-being for a bunch of these people. I've called off of work and risked losing my job. I've done a whole bunch of things. And then look at where I am now. And I like to say that I have treated all of the people that are on my server now with the same level of respect and words. I've said 1.5 million of them. Why can't I think of this one word? Decency? No. Kindness. Respect and kindness that I have shown them, I have shown to everyone on my server. Can I be a bit of a shithead? Yeah, that's part of my own personal growth. I need to learn to be more open with people. I need to be less closed off and show that I do care more often. Does that mean I don't show it ever? Definitely not. I show it in more ways than one. I'm just not very direct with it. And I'm more about giving back to my community than Mania ever has been. And there's a lot of, looking back, there's a lot of things that could have been done to prevent this. Whereas we could have grown as people. Essentially, both of us could have grown up and put aside our differences. But frankly, I am growing up and moving on, is essentially what I'm doing. I do always have lingering thoughts about these things, but frankly, I'm continuously moving forward and continuously distancing myself from it, because I was already reluctant enough to even bother watching the reboot, because I had already read the script, which had the first eight or so episodes written. And from the synopsis and the episodes that I read, there's a lot of lackluster character development. There's no tension, there's no build-up, there's no mystery, and a lot of it is reused assets, to be perfectly honest. And I don't expect the reboot to go past the first season. But once again, That's from what I've read. That's from my opinion, from my point of view. And no, for those of you who are gonna call me out, I did not read it from a standpoint of someone who is against what Mania is doing. I read it from a writing perspective. I put myself in that seat and read it from that perspective. I made a completely unbiased comparison. And frankly, that's what you're going to have to do if you're reviewing a reboot. If you're looking at a reboot, not only do you have to compare it to the original concepts and the original actual written story, as in the complete written story, not just what was made, because there is a lot of story that was cut out in the actual role play rather than what was in the actual script. Because the original runtime for Mystic Hill Season 3 is 18 episodes. She cut it in half. And tried to condense those 10 episodes into one episode, and was done very sloppily and not well at all, because there was a lot of aspects that were not explored. There was a lot of character development lost. A lot of those moments lost their meaning, such as Heiki's death, which was relegated to the sidelines because she didn't want to bother. And a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, Matt, if you're really growing up and moving on, why do you sit here and keep talking about it? Because I love the story. I don't think you truly understand. I am so passionate about this story, the Mystic Hills world, that to see what was well built and well written and well done was not properly executed and then cut short, thrown away, and then replaced with something that's even more garbage. Frankly, it pisses me off every time I think about it. Because, yeah, do I have a bias? Yeah. I helped write it. And yeah, Mania can try and discredit me, but I have the script to prove it. It was written by us, not just her. I wrote a good chunk of the Season 3 script. I wrote entire episodes that did better than her normal episodes that she wrote. I wrote the whole Leon and Adrian were halves of the Mystic King, because I felt that's what was good for the story to move forward. Because at the time, she had absolutely no clue what direction to take the second season to go. And that's why the second season is a little janky, is because it had no direction at first. And I'm not going to sit here and preach and say that, oh, Mystic Hills would be nowhere without me. It was already fine before I started. The original season could have stood on its own. But to move forward, it couldn't have moved forward without the plot that was there. And that's what I'm claiming. I'm claiming that without those plot points, the story would have never gone anywhere. It would have just continued to be a slice of life, boring series with no substance and no real tension. And then you get into Season 3, where I have a lot more harsh criticisms, because I helped write it. I have a lot more harsh criticisms because I helped write it. There were a lot of details that were not explored, that were just sidelined to get to the end of the story. And for example, there was supposed to be a lot more time between when the season started and Mania ended up getting in an accident involving that mystic and put in the hospital. There was supposed to be a little bit more time between that for the characters' sake, because it was supposed to catch up with all of the characters. Oh, before I do move on, there is one more thing about Season 2 that I should point out as well, is a lot of the characters started to become more sidelined, and an actual cell of characters that became main characters, and every other side character got relegated to the sidelines, and got no development, no growth, and meant absolutely nothing to the story. Like, in the first season, there was Leon's sister Zelda that was never explored further. There's Kaden, and then eventually Zoe became a completely irrelevant side character, and so on and so forth. There were a bunch of different characters that just got sidelined. Like, Mania's parents were completely sidelined and didn't get any development. There was in the roleplay cut, Heike is downplayed because he has no screen time. In the second or third season of Mystic Hills, he just shows up, and then he dies, and that's not fair to his character, because he has a lot more depth to his character. He's actually a very kind and caring individual, and ends up making a very big self-sacrifice play to give the whole team more time to figure out a strategy to defeat the Mystic King. And that whole Mania breaking down segment was forced in there. Because, once again, it had to be about Mania and not everyone else. Which, in terms of that section of the story, I could forgive that, because originally there was supposed to be a lot more screen time for all the other characters. Every character was supposed to have their own separate episode where it was just them. It was just a story for them, and not Mania in the least. Because there's the lyric episode in the werewolf village that you never saw. There's Holly's episode in the sorceress village. There's the Nick episode, which kind of fell more into the category of the Kota and Rota episode as well, because they were supposed to get more depth in that episode. In the Crow Tengu village, there's the Dragon Island episode, which was not only just Mania, it was another singular Mania adventure, that's true, but it actually showed that she isn't just a Mary Sue saved by everyone else character, because, to be honest, that's what Mania is in every series that she's ever created. She either always ends up taking the win, or always ends up getting saved by Leon, and that's the end of it. That's the conflict, and there's no substance. If your character can't defend themselves in their own character-driven ways with their own qualities, they're not a character. They're a damsel in distress. They're a Mary Sue. And there's a whole lot of problems. And people complain about having a Mary Sue in Star Wars. People writing Mary Sues happens all the time. It's not a current phenomenon that's a problem now. It's been a problem for decades. Basically, since the start of writing, since the beginning of fiction. Your characters need to be well-rounded enough for your story to make sense. And that's just not what Mania does. Mania just tells the story clear-cut, to the point, and no tension, no substance, no conflict, nothing. And it disappoints me because she's capable of so much more. I've written a bunch of... I'm not written... I have read a bunch of her other ideas, and some of them are actually really good, where Mania isn't a Mary Sue, and actual world and character development is possible. She's a very competent writer, and a very competent creator, but she just refuses to use that potential because she doesn't want to waste the time and wants to get content up because she feels it's more important to give quantity rather than quality. And granted, everybody falls into that mindset once they become successful. But that shouldn't be a determining factor. Money and time should never be a determining factor. If you are going to actually take the time to sit there and make a quality writing or quality roleplay episode, you need to be actually putting in the real effort. And from what I see ever, there's no effort. There's no innovation, because the difference between the first episode of Season 3 and the first episode of the reboot is... Let's take the camera work, for example. The camera work is okay, but it's very basic. Whereas the first episode of Season 3, the camera work was very innovative and had purpose and had a good way of telling the story, not just through the characters' dialogue, but also from the backgrounds. There were a lot of background elements that helped tell the story. If you're not willing to push yourself in every aspect of making your story or roleplay or such, it's only going to get worse. It's not ever going to get better all of a sudden because, oh, you had a brainchild and had an inspiration. You need to go out of your way and push for it. It's not just going to suddenly come to you and be like, oh, let's do this thing. That's not how improvement works. Improvement comes from within and hard work and dedication. It does not come from being complacent with a very horde mentality audience and getting your instant gratification whenever the fuck you want. And there's a bunch of different stuff I could talk about, and frankly, I should talk about, because that's what I like to do, use these vlogs for. I like to get my thoughts out. Because I've mostly been talking about Mania. Ish has her problems as well. She very much has a stick up her own ass and won't let loose enough or let others take charge enough to improve the quality of anything. And I don't think Mania's intervention has made that better. It's made her more open about it, but it's only gone to show that the only thing she cares about is her own work. And there's a difference between taking pride in what you do and letting other people have their chance in the spotlight. Because favoritism is also a very big problem in that group as well. Chris will never be out of an acting role for Leon. And he'll always be wanted and requested to be in every single video. And that's why, and Mania adores him because he's her Leon, and Chris and I are, I would like to say, very good friends. We get along really well. Good God, we're practically identical twins from the way we look. And I love the dynamic between us. And frankly, I wish we had more time to hang out together, but from what I've heard, all he's ever had time for is work and Mania, and nobody else. Like, he'll talk to us if he has the time, and I love that about him, because he'll go out of his way to talk, but I don't know. There's a whole lot of aspects. I love Chris. He's a great guy. Very, very honest and open person. He's very kind. And that's why I went out of my way to buy his computer for him. I would do it again. Anytime, buddy. Anytime. Because, yeah, there were donations, and Mania pitched in $20. I practically paid for the whole damn thing. $700 straight out of my income. And ordered it and sent it to him myself. The same thing happened with Mania when we first met. Her laptop died, and she lost everything for Mystic Hills. I bought her a brand new laptop. $300 straight out of my pocket. I bought her a brand new laptop. I didn't even think twice, because she used to be that type of person. She was very kind. She was very honest and very open and willing to talk about these things. Now she's very closed off, very self-centered, a narcissistic... I don't know. She's very narcissistic. It always has to be about her in any situation. She loves to put on her mask where she shows that she cares without actually having to do anything and proving it. The Mania that I met and was friends with is very much a different person from who I left. And not in a good way. And it really hurt to make that decision then and there that I could no longer be a part of that group. It hurt a lot. But it hurt a lot less than what would have happened if I had stayed. I did not stay because I was not going to be put down because I had opinions about the stories. And anytime I ever opened my mouth about anything, it was always, shut up, Matt. No one cares what your opinion is, and frankly, we don't want to hear it. Even immediately after anyone says, hey, do we have any ideas? I state one, they immediately put it down and tell me I'm an idiot or put me down in some way, shape, or form. And this did not happen gradually. It was very sudden. And I think the biggest problem is that Mania will not talk with anyone about what her problems are. And it makes me question whether or not she sees them herself. In my opinion, there needs to be a lot of self-reflection. She needs to stop making videos for a while and reflect on who she is as a creator and as a person. Because that type of attitude is only going to invite more negativity. She already has Ish backing her up. And it only gets worse from there. Now, Ish is very talented and knows that she's talented, but it's that power has gone to her head and she's become much different than when I originally met her. She is basically Mania's guard dog. She's hardly a person herself. Anything that any time ever happens, she has to go immediately to Mania to do anything. And all she does is ever base her decisions around, oh, this is what Mania wants. Not what I want to do or what I am passionate about. And frankly, if she's passionate about being a slave to Mania, all power to her. Let her, I'll just, whatever. But everyone deserves to create what's in here. When you're creating something, it comes from in here. It doesn't come from in here. You use this, your head, you use your head, but it comes from in here. It comes from the heart. And if you're not putting your heart into your content, and you're not so dedicated to it that you will sacrifice everything for it, then personally, in my opinion, you should just stop. Because it's only going to cause problems. Problems that can be fixed. And you're only going to drive away your current friends. Granted, am I saying the people who are still working with her are also bad people? No. I could give several examples of easily the nicest and coolest people I've ever met. There's Tony, there's Blue, Chris, easily Chris. Chris is easily one of the coolest people I've ever met because he practically helped me redefine my voice and refine it that much better. Am I still good? Am I as talented as he is? No. Am I as talented as some of the other people? No. But I have my own style of voice acting now. I have my own personality to it. I can step into my characters that much better now because I've learned how to switch into that mindset. I have a lot to thank Chris for. Because he's been my friend and he's helped me refine a skill I never thought I could be good at. Because I had always wanted to be a voice actor, and voicing Adrian in Mystic Hills was a dream come true. I was finally able to voice Adrian, but at the start of the second season, to me it felt like there was something missing when I was doing the voice acting. And it wasn't until I started talking with Chris and actually talking more about voice acting itself that I actually learned something. And that I actually learned to truly know my character. And I carry with pride that I voiced Adrian and that I brought his character to life. And no one can ever take that away from me. I brought his character to life. Was it the best performance ever in the history of anything? No. Could someone out there have done better? Possibly. But to be perfectly honest, no one knows Adrian's character better than I do. And I take pride in that. I take pride in that because he's my character. I brought him to life. I wrote all of his character development. And yeah, I can't fully take credit because Mania was the one who came up with him. And he's not exactly a completely original concept. But In terms of my writing, I've made the character my own and expanded it into horizons that, frankly, I don't think anyone else could have. And that's what I'm aiming for why I'm writing Origins and why I'm writing an actual complete epilogue, because the story deserves it. Because people are going to call me out and say, oh, it's just because you want the attention, and it's just because you're salty that you were kicked out. I was never kicked out. I left. I'll make the joke that I was fired, but I left. And in Mania's words, that basically to her was saying that I didn't deserve to be Adrian anymore. She can't replace me in terms of Adrian, because I brought the damn character to life. I wrote the character for the most part. Am I saying that Gray's performance was terrible? No. I'm pretty sure my words were, if she were to have anyone ever replace me, the only two people who could have done it were Gray and Chris. Chris, because he's so extremely talented and the man can do anything. He has limitless potential, and he deserves far more than he's gotten. And deserves more than I can give on my own. And Gray is a really cool guy. I really respect Gray. He's actually a good person, and is a very honest and kind and open person. Can he be a shitbird? Oh yeah. But I think that works in the dynamic, because I think the other biggest problem about Mania's creations is she takes it too seriously. Her creative process is so rigid that all of these other problems are kind of based around it. Her rigid focus on being as serious as possible for it. Never allowing herself to make jokes or have fun. Yeah, there are jokes in her series, but it's all forced from what I can tell. And I think the lowest blow that Mania ever dealt me before I left, well, actually it was directly after I left, and it was probably the lowest thing she could have done. And it basically sealed the deal on killing the original Mystic Hills. And it was her vlog. And I know what Mania sounds like when she's actually crying, when she's actually pouring her heart out. There was none of that in that vlog. And it's very ballsy for me to say this, because there are going to be 1.5 million different people who are going to defend her and say that it was real. It was not. I'm telling you right now, it was not. The Mania who was in that vlog was not a Mania who was upset about her story not being finished. It was a Mania trying to get back at me and completely destroy anything that I ever did. And it was a very low blow. I very much took it to heart when I saw that video, and I was like, this is complete bullshit. Anything she's ever said in this video is complete bullshit. And at first I wasn't going to do anything. At first I was not going to say anything, but then I started, oh shit. Oh Lord, what did I do? Okay, there we go. That was weird. Originally I wasn't going to confront her about it, but at that point we were still on a talking basis, which kind of immediately stopped after our conversation. We talked about a bunch of stuff. I came clean with her. And then essentially after that, she cut off all communication. Anytime I ever had anything to say, our conversations boiled down to, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. How are you? I'm good. And that was the end. And anytime I had anything to say about Mystic Hills, it always defaulted to, you left, Matt. You don't deserve to be Adrian anymore. Or you left. You don't deserve to be involved at all. And I mean, fine. There's a little bit of truth in that. But the whole part of me not deserving to be Adrian is narcissistic and very high of themselves to really say that. 'Cause as far as I'm concerned, they couldn't replace me. They can't do it. Do I ever expect them to care about replacing me? No, never in the slightest. Because they're too full of themselves to ever admit it. What I was expecting, though, were apologies on their end because of their consistent negativity. And they're going to throw these words right back at me because they were probably the only people there. Anytime that I was ever negative in any of the recording sessions, it was more than likely because of them. There are always those off days that I have where I'm not in such a good mood or I'm not in such a positive attitude that I want to do things, but I'm making things happen anyway because I am passionate about it and I really want it to go well. Anytime we ever gotten a recording call together, it always starts fine, and we're having a good time, and we're having fun, and then Mania jumps in, and she's basically, cut the bullshit, we need to get to work. And then everyone switches their tune and turns on me anytime I ever try to lighten the mood or give an opinion on something. And I'm sure they have a new person to target by now. I'm sure. And they'll just sit there and take it. But despite all of the negativity, I don't regret ever joining Mania's roleplay team. I don't. I really don't. Because before she became this completely different person, before she became who she is now, every single day being a part of Mystic Hills was a fucking blast. It was easily the most fun I ever had being a part of a YouTube thing since I started YouTube. And I still stand by that. To see something that I helped create come to life was a privilege. To see it die as it did and not get what it deserved, does that piss me off? Every time I think about it. It pisses me off every time I think about it. Do I let that affect my decisions going forward? No. And frankly, I want this to be the last time that I bring this up, because, and that's kind of why I kind of, because it's really early in the morning. I woke up 4:30 a.m. and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And no matter what I did, I went and watched TV. I went back and played more Jedi Fallen Order because of the new update and whatnot. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I tried to distract myself from it. Couldn't stop thinking about it. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to sit down and get all my thoughts out. And now my talking about it has turned into an hour and a half vlog. This is probably the longest vlog I've ever made. And it's just me getting my thoughts out. Speaking the truth. Not my truth, the truth. The very hard truth. Have I stated my opinions? Absolutely. This is my vlog. I'm allowed to state my opinions. Do I expect them to carry any weight? No. I don't expect things to change just because I've said something. And frankly, I don't expect any of that to happen because Mania has shown her true colors in her own server, and she still has a bunch of those people still following her, completely ignoring the fact just because horde mentality. People say Mania's good, so Mania's good, right? And it's just disappointing to sit here and watch people fall into this. And am I saying that anything they're ever going to create is crap? No. I'm just saying that what I have seen so far is not improving on anything that has been done before, and the storytelling is suffering because of Mania's inability to pull her perspective back and look at all the other characters rather than just Mania and Leon. Because, to be perfectly honest, it's not supposed to be about the main character when you tell a story. It's supposed to be about the story. Telling the story from start to finish. If you can't tell the story from start to finish, you have a problem. If you can't get the proper world building for the... If you can't get the proper world building for your reader or your viewer to feel the proper impact of these characters, of these characters' lives, then there's no point in making it at all. Well, no, there's not no point. There's some point, obviously, like, because there's obviously something that you want to get out there. But it all basically comes down to execution. You can take a very terribly written story and make something amazing out of it. That's what Mania and I did with the original Mystic Hills. It wasn't the best. I'm not saying that it was garbage, because I fell in love with the world because of the way Mania built the world. I fell in love with it and was excited to see where she was going to take it. There were so many different possibilities to open it up into. But it never happened. Because it wasn't about her. And you see, it's very proven, and the evidence is right there in front of your faces. And I hold the evidence within my hands. I have the original Season 3 script. I have the original ideas that we sat down and thought about before we wrote it. I was there the entire time the series was being written from season 2 to 3. Whether Mania will admit it or not, I was the first person to truly, fully support her who was already on that team. I started out as her editor for her script because the mistakes were driving me crazy, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna fix all this. Give me access, I'll fix it, and that'll be that. Her grammatical errors. But it wasn't until I analyzed the details from the first season going into the second season that I truly that my writing gears started to turn. My creative gears started to turn. And I pitched the idea. And at first, she was completely against it. Let me be perfectly frank. She was completely against it because she felt that was making it all about Leon and Adrian. But it wasn't until I started writing out different portions. Like, there are a lot of portions that are immediately cut off of the concept floor. Like, I have full set parts of the script that were refined from script parts that I wrote as a concept. Which turned this boring slice of life story about a girl with magic abilities into this amazing world of mystics and magic, filled with different colorful characters that had their own personalities. And looking back, I know what went wrong. And I'm sure that they'll place the blame on me because, oh, you just had to get involved. You just have to insert yourself into every story. Well, that's what constructive criticism is. Inserting yourself into the story and making your observations. If you're not willing to take constructive criticism, you're not going to make it very far in the creative world. You're not going to make it on just your own ideas. And you're not going to make it on just a handful of people's ideas. Feedback and constructive criticism is very important from many different sources. That's why I say, if you guys have feedback on my writing, tell me. For the love of God, tell me. The writer, tell me. If you have feedback on my videos, if you have criticisms on my videos that something could be better, tell me. I will endeavor to improve. Will it always happen immediately? No, because I am human. But at the same time, if you are not willing to improve at all and not listen to any criticism given to you ever, whether it's negative or positive, you're not going to get any better. You're not going to go anywhere. And that goes for anything, not just writing role plays or scripts or writing stories or making videos. It goes for literally everything in life. You're not going to get any better at a job that you suck at if you're not listening to the criticisms of the people around you. You're not going to get better at typing if you're not going to take the criticisms not only from other people around you, but from yourself. You are not going to get any better in your own personal lives if you are not listening to the people who are criticizing you or making fun of you. If there's something that you can change, by God, you have the power to change it. If there is something that you are passionate about, that you love, and that you want to do it so badly that you would drop everything for it, go for it. Do it. There is literally nothing that you cannot do. And I know this turned into some inspirational spiel, but it's true. But at the end of the day, the only person who can change you is you. I cannot get any better unless I decide to get better. And the way that I decide to be better is listening to the constructive criticism, is listening to people giving me feedback. I always endeavor to be better. And yeah, that rhymed, but that's not what this is about. I have come so far in the 3.5 years, not only as a content creator, but as a person. I have become a better me from my experiences. And frankly, this whole bullshit scenario with Mania has not slowed me down. It hasn't affected me so badly that I want to quit YouTube and quit existing like they want me to. No. They're not going to break me down. They're not going to make me quit. They're not going to expose my true nature, because my true nature is always in front of the camera 24/7. I am me in front of the camera. I have become so comfortable sitting here and talking with you guys that I have no problems being perfectly open and honest. Whether it's criticism or trying to be helpful or giving back, I have no problem being myself. And I would not get nearly as excited or pissed off at things that happen on this channel if I did not give a shit. The people that keep telling me, you're not funny, Matt, your videos suck. Well, you don't like me? Go away! I have no problem saying that. If I was to appease the people, I would say, oh, okay, I'll do something different and try to change my personality to fit your needs. I'm not going to change myself just to fit into a singular group. That's not what life is about. I am me when I am doing this. I am so passionate about sitting here and playing video games for you guys and talking with you guys and interacting and playing games with you guys. It blows my fucking mind every time I realize I'm just talking to a camera and hoping that people will see it and understand this is me. It is me. Not anybody else. It's not a mask I put on. If you can't understand how much I love what YouTube has done for me, then you obviously have not watched my videos enough. Because ever since I started YouTube, I have had a blast sitting and recording videos. Whether they're good, whether they're crap, whether they're totally garbage in my eyes, I have enjoyed every fucking moment of it. Because I didn't do it just for me. I am an outlet for entertainment. I'm not doing it for me, but at the same time, I'm doing it because I fucking love it. And yeah, I get frustrated and gripe and groan about certain games or gripe and groan about certain things not working. Does that mean I'm just gonna stop? No! I will sacrifice anything for this. Because I love it. And I will sacrifice anything for you guys because I love you. To be perfectly honest. People cannot say they love anyone unless they're willing to sacrifice. I would gladly give up my financial and personal well-being for you guys. because of how much love and support you guys have given me. And I'm not exaggerating because it's a video. I'm not exaggerating at all. I'm telling the God's honest truth. I am at my personal best when I am sitting here playing a fucking video game for people I've never personally met. I am at my best when I'm sitting here chatting with you guys, when I am sitting here reacting to games, when I'm sitting here getting the shit scared out of me. I am at my best in terms of my personal self. Because I love it so much. It's brought me out of my shell. I used to be a very closed off, negative, and frankly, someone who didn't even want to live at that point in my life, who barely even wanted to exist at that point, into someone who fucking loves life, loves you guys, and loves playing video games for your entertainment. Who loves putting himself through the pain and the torture of different horror games because I love it. And yeah, there are going to be the naysayers. There are going to be the negative people who only ever want to tear other people down. And frankly, if you're those people, you don't even know me. If you don't watch my videos for any amount of time, you won't get to know me. I am not just a single layered robot. I am a person who has multiple layers that has shown through over the 3.5 years I've been doing this. I've been doing it for nothing. For 3.5 years. Do I care that I'm not making money? No, not in the slightest. I wouldn't give a shit if I had never made money from this. I would not care at all. And frankly, from how YouTube's monetization is working, I'll never get monetized for it. Like, I'll never make money for it. And frankly, I'm okay with that. I have no fucking problem with it. All I care about is bringing you guys entertainment and playing video games for you guys and interacting with you. If you can't understand that, then you might as well leave, because then that just means you're part of the horde mentality and negativity that is the dark side of the internet. And frankly, if you're going to be that person, keep it to yourself. Nobody wants to listen to you whine and complain about life when you've never lived it. I am a very complicated individual. I have been through a lot of personal experiences. I have been through a lot of near-death experiences. And I have gone through a lot of personal growth over the 22 years that I've lived. 22 years may not seem like a lot, but looking back, it's only been the past 10 that most of my experiences have occurred. In the past decade, I've gone through so many near-death experiences and so many conflicts and so much anguish that me being here today, I am more thankful now than ever that I get to sit here and do something that I love for people that I care about. Like, regardless of if I've ever talked to you or not, I care about you because you take the time out of your day to watch my videos. And yeah, I may talk shit all the time, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just me having fun. Making jokes. Learning to take jokes is a whole part of life. If you cannot have laughter in your life for even a moment, there's no point in living. Because I could not live without laughing as much as I have in the past 3.5 years. Not just at myself, but laughing with you guys, being there with you guys. I've never cried on camera, but I guarantee if I ever did, I would cry with you guys. I would go through anything all over again just to do this. I would go through any hard part of my life all over again just to do this. Because I love it so much. And I am still beyond thankful and grateful for myself for taking that first step. Because personally, that first step is always the hardest. People always say it's hardest later on. No. If it's harder later on, you're doing something wrong. The first step is always the hardest. Becoming a better person always starts with a single step. If you're not willing to take that step because you're too far up your own ass to even bother to sit there and criticize yourself, maybe you should start. Because the saying is, you're your own worst critic. Yeah. But that doesn't mean putting yourself down and being negative all the time. That means it's yourself telling you to get your act together, to start living, start having fun, start interacting with people, start talking with random people on the internet. I have done that much hundreds and hundreds of times. I take this step to go and talk to people I've never talked to before. I talk with strangers almost on a daily basis. Ugh. It is very musty in this room. I'm gonna be perfectly open. But there's a point in time that I talk with strangers on almost a daily basis. Nowadays, it's more on a weekly basis because people come and go and random people don't like to talk to random strangers all the time. I love talking with random people because that just opens up the possibility of maybe they have more to say to me, or maybe they have some insight into something that I can't see. And I love it every time. It's worth it every time. Because strangers are just people you haven't made friends with yet. They're just friends you haven't made yet. Granted, there are other types of strangers that you shouldn't be friends with because they're creepy weirdos, addicts, morons, Tide Pod eaters. Like, there's that type of crowd you need to avoid. But I don't know. I think the main itinerary of this ending portion, what I've been talking about in this ending portion, the thing to take away is I love you guys a lot. You guys have done so much for me. And it's become my lifelong goal to pay you back in some way, shape, or form. It has become my lifelong ambition now to not only continue to do this, but also to continue paying you guys back for all of the love and support that you have given me. The whole thing with Mania, yeah, it's been a huge part of my life on YouTube, but it's just a bump in the road. I still have a long road ahead of me. It's just a speed bump. And frankly, it just exhausts me every time someone tries to bring it up, or someone tries to bring up a good point that Mania has made. They're not worth it anymore, is basically what I'm saying. It's not worth my time defending my position, because anything that they're doing right now is anything that they've said or done that is to slander me is based off of lies. Because that's what they perceive, because they're so far up their own asses that they think they can never do anything wrong. And frankly, it's not worth my time to fight a losing battle. In the end, they're still going to keep making content. They're still going to be successful, and Mania's going to get paid for it. Whatever. I don't care. I'm just going to keep doing what I love doing, which is this. This channel has always been something that I've loved to do. Writing Origins and the epilogue is just a side thing. It's something I do in my off time. Ugh. Something stuck in my ass throat. Probably because I've been shouting. But no, I've been talking for almost 2 hours now. And it's just occurring to me now that I've been sitting here divulging my inner thoughts to a camera for 2 hours. Like, that still blows my mind. And it's not even a guarantee that people are going to watch this all the way through. And frankly, you don't watch it all the way through, you don't care. That's fine. Doesn't affect me none. I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, which was to get my thoughts out on camera. And I've done this before with a couple of videos pertaining Mania, but I was not going to let this video just be about Mania because, frankly, it's not about her. She's not a part of my life anymore. I don't want her to be a part of my life anymore. Do I ever see us being friends again? If she ever finally changes her narcissistic attitude towards anything she does, yes, I could see that happen. Do I still wish her the best? Yes, I really do. Not for the person who she is now, but for the person she was and how important she was to me back then. I wish them all the best. Ugh. Anyway, this video has been excessively uber long, and I am tired of talking, so I'm gonna go start doing some writing. I have thought about doing a drunk Halo video because it was suggested, because that might be fun. I might crank up the difficulty and start the game over just because of that, because basically my idea for the drunk Halo Combat Evolved video is I'll take a shot every time I die. That's the only time that it'll ever make any sense. And I want to put it in on heroic or harder, because then that'll increase the amount of deaths that I have. And seeing how I did on normal, I could take a harder difficulty. I killed myself more often than enemies killed me, to be perfectly honest. And I just love Halo Combat Evolved. Like, the original Halo, that's my childhood right there, wrapped up in a little bow, along with Fable: The Lost Chapters. I might do a video of nostalgia on that again, because I love Fable. I want to play it again. I haven't played Fable in a long time. And technically, I'm not reusing content if it's Lost Chapters, because Lost Chapters is the original and not Anniversary, which is made in the Fable 2 engine. Well, Fable 2 and 3. Which I very much want Fable 2 to be on PC. Do I ever think it'll happen? I don't know. That's a Microsoft call. I would buy it instantly. Like, I still have the physical disc for Fable 2. I've thought about streaming it from my Xbox. I've thought about getting a capture card or a video capture device for my PC just to record Fable 2, because Fable 2 was amazing. There's problems with it, but it was amazing. Far and above the very original Fable. Fable Anniversary is better than Fable 2, in my personal opinion, because it takes the improvements from Fable 2 and throws them into the original Fable, coupled with the actual complete version of the game. It works out. I know the graphics are dated, but I would love to sit and do an entirely new playthrough of Fable: The Lost Chapters. With a much better understanding of the game now, because when I did the Let's Play, I didn't bother to dig into the deeper aspects of the game. I just did it for a playthrough. But there's so much more to be done in Fable Anniversary. Like, you can make more money by renting out your houses. There's many different alternative ways to do all sorts of things. And it's always a different experience every single time. Like, even if you do the exact same things the exact same way, there's something new every single time. Like, there's things that you miss. And there's different alternate routes to everything. And and certain things are designated canon in terms of the storylines. Like, the mayor of Bowerstone, in the canon timeline, she was killed. The hero exposed her and turned her in and became the new mayor of Bowerstone. And yeah, that's how that story goes. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that the hero from the original Fable is the ancestor of the hero you play in Fable 2. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure. There's a whole lot of things in Fable 2, more than Fable 3, that connect the two games between Fable and Fable 2 that's in the timeline, because the difference between Fable 2 and 3 is like 40 years, if that. The difference between the original Fable and Fable 2 is like hundreds of years. It's been almost 1,000 years. And there's so much more growth. And it's much more enjoyable. Like, seeing what happened to Oakvale devastated me when I played Fable 2 for the first time. To see it completely dilapidated and destroyed, it devastated me, because Oakvale is a very important part of the original game. And frankly, it holds a very special place in my heart, because I very, very vividly remember playing the parts in Oakvale from the original game when I was a child. Granted, there's another game that I played that I can't remember the name of for the life of me, and it was really cool and fun. And if I remember correctly, it had a lot of first-person perspective. I need to look up the games of that era and look through, because there are certain games that I don't remember the name of that I would love to figure out what they are and figure out if they had a 360 release. Or if there's, I don't know, if there's a copy of it out there somewhere, because I would love to play those games again. Because just for nostalgia's sake, like, that's the whole premise, is it's just for nostalgia's sake, to see if it's what I remember. Because there's a whole lot I don't remember about that game, but there's a whole lot I do remember. And there were a whole bunch of different characters. I couldn't even describe it to you if I wanted to. Because it came out around the same time as Fable. And if I remember correctly, I played the demo of that game through the secondary disc that came in with Fable, because it came with like an Xbox demo list. Because that's how you got access to demos back in the day. They were put on a separate disc. And I cannot remember for the life of me what games they were. Because there were a couple other games too, but I just can't for the life of me remember them. Because I was really young. I was like 5 or 6 when I started playing games. But I don't love it any less. Anyway, so that's all the time I'm going to sit here and bog down this 2-hour vlog. Good God. This is the longest vlog I've ever made, and this is probably the most I've ever talked for an extended period of time, for one video. 'Cause I've done, like 8-9 hour recording sessions. Like back when I did Skyrim, when I did my Skyrim walkthrough, I sat down for 8-9 hours to make videos. And to make concurrent progress, because I would record for an hour, do actual game stuff, stop recording, go off, do some extra stuff, like to make some extra money or something, or increase my perks or whatnot, and go to these different secondary areas and whatever. And then I would record again and then do more story stuff or quest stuff, because I would only ever do like miscellaneous quests that did not open up into bigger storylines. Like I would explore the more boring Nordic ruins, or because Nordic ruins are where all your money is. Nordic and Dwemer ruins, that's where all your money is, because not just from loot drops, but from the bunch of different item drops that are there. Like in the Dwemer ruins, it's all of like the Dwemer pottery or the materials that you can get from it. There's like boatloads of coin that you can make just from doing those. Like going to Aftland is probably the most financial boost you'll ever get, because going from Aftland to Blackreach to the Tower of Mizark there's a lot of money to be made from the beginning to end. And it's a step up in difficulty in the game too, because you have to make it through all of that just to get the quest items that you need. Not just the transcribed lexicon, but there's also quests in Blackreach that can be done as well. And I think the most fun quest out of all the Dwemer ruins was the Ethereum Forge quest. That and Evantionzel, because Evantionzel was really cool too. But of all of the quests that involved the Dwemer, the Ethereum Forge was the coolest out of all of them. Granted, they could have done a lot more with what they had set up, but they didn't. There's also a lot of secret areas in the forge itself. Like there's a whole back end past the lava. There's a chest hidden back there. There's chests hidden around the sides of the lava. There's cool areas to find. But yeah, I love Skyrim. I wish I could play more of it. I would have to completely remod my whole game to be able to do that again. But I'm tempted to wait and get my new PC before I start playing my Skyrim again, because I have bigger memory issues with this computer. Ooh, and my computer's nice and cool because I have a fan set up, because my fans on this PC are broken, and I have not replaced them, so I just have an exterior fan blowing into it, and it's actually working really well. My computer is nice and cool, and it hasn't overheated since, because anytime I ever lose connection with my internet or something, it's because my computer is overheated. That, and I've been updating my graphic drivers and everything and trying to keep everything up to date, and performance has been slightly better, more than average, but it's whatever. It can still play my modded Xenoverse 2, so I'm happy with it. I would love to upgrade the graphics card, but that would mean completely uninstalling all of my drivers. I'd have to actually take the whole thing apart. And I'd have to get a new monitor. That's probably the biggest bummer out of this whole thing, because it has the screw-in plug where you plug it in and you screw it in, and it's the blue the blue piece. I can't remember the actual term for the cord, but the newer graphics card that I'm looking at doesn't have that. It's an HDMI. And I don't think I can put both in. I don't think so. Because it's a 1650 Super. Where are the ports? I don't know. I would... Hang on a second. Let me take a look behind the hood, under the hood here real quick. I want to do this before I end the vlog. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's definitely on the graphics card, so I would have to completely remove this monitor, and this monitor is not HDMI supported because it's from 10 years ago. 10 years ago, there was no such thing as HDMI. But anyway, I'm done talking, I promise. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for listening to my thoughts. Nah, I'm not going to even bother saying anything about Mania or Ish or anyone, because frankly, they're not going to waste their time. Unless they're monitoring me, but frankly, I wouldn't give a shit. They can't access my server because, frankly, I don't want them in my server. Ugh. Until they change their attitude, I don't see us being friends anymore. Ever again, really. But that's pretty much the end of that. That's not what this video is about. That's just what part of it was about. Because that's just been something it's been bugging me all day that I haven't ever properly gotten my thoughts out about the whole situation. I've gotten my thoughts out to other people in my server, but I've never been able to get it out on camera because I haven't taken the time. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. I really do. I love you all so much. You're easily the best thing that has ever happened to me in my life. This channel is the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life, and I don't ever expect that to change. Unless I suddenly win the lottery and can have my dream computer. That would probably be on even terms, okay? I don't even play for the lottery. I don't even care about it. I'm not a money person. Money is of no importance to me. 'Cause it's just not appealing. Like, I'll work for money, but only if it has a purpose. Like, the purpose for money now for me is just to get a new computer so I can make more content for you guys. That's it. That's all I want the money for. It's not even for myself. I mean, it kind of partly is because it's a new computer. It's a brand new computer. But it's to give you guys more entertainment. But once again, I digress. I'm done. So, I will see all of you in the next video. Maybe, hopefully, probably soon. So, bye! Bye-bye. Bye. Oh, man. God, 2 hours. It's crazy.